to me, there's no difference except relationship. So mentally, I don't have a different thought process between the two. But the difference is relationship. Aikido's played at this distance. Put your hand up. This distance, right? Judo's played at this distance. But everything else is basically the same. I mean, I do, you know, in Aikido, who's the Aikido guy? You are. You know, they come in, they do releases and all this stuff, and boom, you know. And I do the same thing in groundwork. Guy comes in groundwork, he reaches my ankle, I do a release on my foot, you know. If I'm laying down, it's hard to do standing up, I don't have the flexibility, but I can do a release, I can lock, I can do a wrist lock, I can go straight into the head. I mean, the principles are all the same. Now, if you start looking at Yeshiva style Aikido, where it's then you can look at Judo styles that do the same thing. A lot of power, a lot of force. When you get into competition stuff, a lot of strength. Okay? But you look at guys like Eliadis and some of these Europeans that are just so powerful, Teddy Reiner. I mean, God, I've never stood beside him, but I would imagine his legs are like mooses. You know, and when you go against somebody that's got the genetics to play the game, we were talking over there earlier that there are people that never practice. I used to know guys that would go play nationals, but they never trained during the year. They just show up at nationals and play and win. You know, just something built into their brain that works. And in Aikido, of course, somebody can come at you and you can sneeze and get out of the way and do something and they fall down. So the mentality is you. Does that make sense? I don't see the difference. And if you play it differently, let me know. Anybody? I'm not like other people. I don't yell at you if you have a comment.
I personally try to close the distance as an Aikido person to an extent. I mean, I like to work this, but when it starts to speed up and you start putting more into it, it will if you have a good fit, it will naturally close distance.
Oh, absolutely. And LF, anybody know LF? Okay. His knife randori, he loved to play inside of my on knife randori. The guy was phenomenal. And you couldn't touch him. And that's where he practiced. That's the level he practiced at. So it also depends on where are you and your learning and your thought processes and stuff. So we've got guys from beginners to people who have been playing 30, 40 years out here, and everybody's going to have a different thought process. You know what my thought process is if I do randori with somebody? Anybody have a clue what I'm thinking about?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. I don't want to grip the guy. I don't want to hold the guy. I'm just going to move. I'm going to be very light with him until he hits me. And then I'm going to go, oh, that's what I'm dealing with. Actually, I'm feeling people. I listen with my hands. I haven't heard this discussion in a long time. When I grip somebody, I always lay my little finger here on them. And I'm always listening here with my thumb. And I'm listening. I always tighten the gi so I can feel the arm. We used to take these things and turn them right at the elbow so he couldn't bend his arm. So we'd get this thing so tight it'd cut off the circulation. All right? And we used to play that game a lot. Boom. And just hold them out. And then here we just lock them down. But now I just lay them in there. So now he really can't move a shoulder or move his elbow without signaling my body that something's fixing to happen. Then, of course, if he tries to move his feet, as long as I'm moving with him, as soon as he tries to change something, he's going to alert my brain that something's going on. So I really don't have an agenda to come out and throw this guy with something. Now, if I'm coaching you and we're playing judo, and you're fixing to fight this guy, and I know what he has and what he hasn't had because I've been watching him fight and I've been studying his films. We've been looking at it and reviewing. Now I'll coach you on how to beat this guy because I can tell you what he's going to step with, what his foot patterns are going to be, and how he's going to move with you. And so I can teach you, and then we can practice with what's called stegeko and give you all the steps that this guy's going to give so you can practice working against them. That's strategy. All right? But when you're just playing judo, oop, 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 oop. I don't think of anything. I just work off of his reactions. So, with that, we've been working on chains, connecting the dots. We've worked daishi. We've worked ouchi and different patterns. Foot going back, different things. I'm going to take you to a whole different world now. Oh, God. This is actually one of my favorite throws. And it's a throw I've used extremely well in competition and on the mat. At Carl's mat where we played, we had a red circle in the middle of the mat. And one of my goals, personal goals, was to throw everybody on that red spot. I didn't tell anybody about it. It was just a thing that I did. Okay? And a few people would catch on, like Ron Rea. He was my dentist. Good player. And Martin Bregman was one. And they would start to do everything they could to keep me away from that red spot. All right? But I still got them on the red spot. That's like, what was my competition throw? Harai goshi. That was my big wheel. And so everybody in the school knew my throw was harai goshi. So everybody did everything they could to stay off of harai goshi. What did I throw people with? Harai goshi. Why? Because the more I teach you about my harai goshi, the more I teach you how not to get into those patterns that are going to set up my harai goshi. So what do I have to do? I got to find a better way to get to my harai goshi off of you. And I trained a lot of harai goshi get-offer professionals, you know. And so I had to continue to upgrade to get better. Now, did we do this like this? No, it was all in movement. So keep that in mind. Play light. We don't have to play strong because it's a whole lot faster to learn and to learn pristine technique. And the structural relationships are much more important than learning how to learn bad judo. Competition is bad judo. It really is. It's a bastard form of the throws. But thanks to the Europeans being smarter than some of us, they've learned to make different throws because of different things. The Russians, the Germans, you know, and we'll go through some of that here in a little bit. In fact, with this next series, I'm going to show you a couple of series of these throws. So it's a lot of fun. What was my favorite Takui Waza? That was my hip throw. But before I did that, I always threw Kosoto gari. Now the way I would do Kosoto gari, especially in competition, is we would bow. I always clap my hands. Don't know why, I just always did. And people would always reach for the lapel. I didn't care which. And this would happen. And then they'd go, ah, and come back and fight. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to step to here. See that step? See, once he puts that foot down, he has to step now with this foot. But if I go to here, he's got to step. Now he can come back, which is fine, but I can also bring him back onto it. And I learned this whole side motion of controlling him. Okay? And I can't grip my lower fingers anymore. So I just do this with a thumb and forefinger. And I do this with really strong guys. It's kind of fun. Because it all has to do with when he touches the floor. Now he has to step. Now if he steps with that foot, I can't do my Kosoto. So now he's going to come here and I've got to come back around. And there it is. And all I'm watching is for this foot to come forward. And in competition, I would come to here. There it is. Boom. And then they would go, I'm not giving you that hand anymore. And there it is. And I mean, I would wind these things up. It's hilarious. But one motion to set that up is just to come right here and step right foot, left foot, and help it out. Sorry about that. It's a beast. Or if he doesn't want to step there, I'll step to here, bring him around, and then catch the foot. And I'm not throwing him backwards. There it is. It's amazing how many times I've done this. It's funny too. Boom. Now he's being nice, but what makes foot sweeps work? If I catch his arm and I catch his foot, what makes this foot sweep work?
He's falling into that step.
Pull your foot back. It's him wanting to get his foot somewhere where it's not. I'm trying to pull it out. His body says no, and he tries to pull it back. It creates the opposite effect. Now, if I catch the timing just right, then I can scoop it out from under him. But if I catch it and he yanks it back, then I just give him a little circle back here, and it sets the center back. There's lots of different plays on this. It's a study in itself. But they reach, boom, right there it is. It's amazing how many times people will step right there. All right, play with that for a second. Just catch it, step right across in front of their body and catch that foot.